Hello, everybody. My name is Raul Avila. I'm here with my partner in crime, Pastor Nate.
Let's go.
Conant. Welcome to Father's Voice, the podcast dedicated to empowering men to embody essential qualities and values in the multifaceted roles of husband, provider, father, and man of God. In each of these episodes, we will chase greatness, drawing inspiration from timeless wisdom of the Bible and personal experiences from many of our guests. And we are confident you are going to love this and share it. So what do we got today, Pastor Nate?
So today is going to be fantastic. We have a good friend of mine, Henry Campos. And Henry has a beautiful story of sort of a better perspective. I think sometimes when we live in something and are always surrounded by something, we think a certain kind of way. And when we come from the outside and come in, you have a whole other perspective. And so the neat thing, one of the neat aspects of Henry, and we'll get into him in a second, would be the reality of he was raised as a child, I think up to age 17 in the country of Cuba. So he was raised in communism.
Yeah, correct. So, I was born in Cuba, 1985. So, and I came to the U.S. in 2003.
Wow.
Yeah. I was about 17 years old.
Huge contrast, obviously, being raised as a child and then being brought here. I'm sure there's a huge contrast. So
yes,
briefly, so you're born in Cuba, and since we're all about dads, did you have a relationship with your father? Did you know your father? What's the story on your background as a child?
Yes. Well, my mom and my dad, they separated when I was 1 year old.
Okay.
So I didn't have a really close relationship with my dad. It was more like he would come pick me up once a month or so. And the reason, let me just step back a minute. The reason why my mom and dad separated is because my dad was an alcoholic. So he liked to drink, and my mom, didn't want to deal with that. So they ended up splitting. Then most of the time he would show up to pick me up. He was drunk or something. So I got to go with him, many times. I spent time at his house with my grandpa and my grandma. And so the time he wasn't drinking, he was a great father. But when he was drinking, I just wouldn't go with him. My mom wouldn't let me. And then, so I didn't spend a lot of time with him. By the time I was 13, he passed away.
Got it.
So how old was he when he passed away?
I was 13. He was 42. Something like that. Yeah.
And he did pass away from alcohol, like sort of that?
Yes. So he worked at a harbor, driving the boat, kind of like tows the bigger boats into the bay, because we live very close to the ocean. And
in what city was that, roughly?
It's Matanzas.
Okay.
There's a famous area that's called Varadero. A lot of people know that area, but yeah. I guess he was very, he was drinking, and then he ate a lot, and with the movement on the boat and all that, he kind of like passed out, and he hit his head. And I found out I was with my friends just hanging out, playing video games or something. I don't recall. It's been a long time, but it was very sad for me, even though I didn't spend a lot of time with him. But still, when he was good, he was a great dad. He just wasn't there all the time.
And the system, just as a background, for divorce or marriage in Cuba, sort of similar to America. I know it's very Catholic, but it's also very communist.
Yes.
So was your mom and dad continually married, or did they actually divorce?
No, actually, they were never married.
Never married, okay.
Yes, they were just together. And so Cuba, the marriage is not something that people look up to over there. It's more like, for them, it's just a paper, and that's it. It's very common over there for people to live together, and they say they're pretty much married because they live together. Because they don't have that, the values of, and they don't see it on their mom and dad, or because they've been raised like that throughout the years. So,
So were you
they don't know
raised-
any better.
Were you raised Catholic in that environment or not Catholic at all?
No.
Atheist?
I was raised atheist, yeah.
Is that because of the government or because of...
Correct, yeah.
Really?
So there is no religion in Cuba.
Wow.
At least when I was there. So
Mm-hmm.
there was beautiful churches
Yeah.
there, Catholic churches, because that's the primary religion when the Spain took over Cuba, all that. But they're empty. No one goes to them. They're kind of like falling apart. They just deteriorating.
So empty in a sense, nobody even goes there.
No,
Just
nobody.
empty buildings.
No, yeah, exactly. So and
So
then
there's no priests. There's no.
No, and when Castro took over in 1959, he removed all the frames, God's frame and Jesus frames and all that. The only frames you could have in your house, it was
Fidel
his.
Castro.
Yeah, that was his frame.
That's what happens,
So,
right? So
yeah.
he came into Cuba and wanted to implement communism regime, and part of communism,
Yes.
based on what I know, but it could be propaganda. That's why we have you
Yeah,
here, right?
for sure.
Yeah,
Is that they don't like religion. They want to be the gods.
exactly. They don't want you to have other perspective
There you
or other things other than them. They're
Wow.
your God. They're your idol. They're your everything. So
So the government sort of replaces God would be part of the idea.
pretty much, yes. So I'm sure you know Che Guevara.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Right.
about that.
Colombian guy.
Che Guevara, everybody acts like he's some iconic hero.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I don't think he is.
No,
He's not at all.
I didn't get to find out who he was until I actually came over here.
Mhm.
And I started doing my research, started reading and looking. Because he was pictured to us like he was this great guy,
Mhm.
that he would go from country to country,
A revolutionary.
Liberating people.
liberating people and helping you out. And then I'll find out he was just the biggest
Evil.
evil guy. Yeah,
He really was.
it was crazy.
People still get tattoos and it's all like
Mhm.
they think he
they
turned like
wear
a
on
cult
their
hero.
shirts
He's
and-
pure evil.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So can we go back a little bit on growing up without a father as a 11-year-old, you said?
13 is
13-year-old?
Yes.
And so, you live with a father that was an alcoholic. You would say he was an alcoholic.
Yes. He liked to drink, so he was an
So
alcoholic.
when he was drinking, was he a violent alcoholic?
No.
What kind of?
No, my dad was really sweet most of the time. He was cool, even when he was drinking or when he wasn't drinking. He wasn't violent at all. He was more really mellow.
Why did your mom didn't want you to hang out with him if he
Because
wasn't violent?
he was drunk when he come pick me up. Because
Oh,
he
the
lived,
danger of it.
yeah, he lived at a different house, and so he'll come pick me up and take me with him. But my mom didn't want him the responsibility. He didn't want me to go with him in the stage that he was. If it was when he was sober, like he'll let me go.
Oh, okay.
She'll let me go with him. Yeah.
Wow.
Fascinating. So,
How did that affect you? Because you're a dad also. Huh? Do you have kids?
Yes. Yeah, I got 2 kids.
How old are they?
15 and 14. So,
15 and 14.
Yeah, a girl and a boy. Well, they're about to be 16 and 15 this year.
Knowing what, I mean, obviously you went through the situation that you went through, and that's great to know, because I would like to know, and I like to ask dads this, how did that affect you as a father based on how you grew up with the father that you had?
Yeah, I think it affected me in a way that I didn't have that father figure there for me when I had an issue, when I had a problem, somebody to go talk to. Because it's not the same going to your mom or your grandma, that's they're who raised me. But at that, when you have a problem with your wife or how to raise your kids, maybe that's they could advise you or tell you this is the way you should handle this problem or not. So and also I didn't know God either. So
you were
when
atheist, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I moved to the US, and even after I lived here for some time until I met my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, I didn't know how to deal with the kids. It was tough.
Did you have an uncle or any like grandfather or?
Yeah, my uncles, but my uncles they're